Legend of the Chess-Slayer. Hello and welcome to the World Chess Championship. This year the format was unique. In a strive for publicity, the championships were open, meaning anyone from anywhere could come and participate. You could be an absolute beginner and be up against a grandmaster. There was a sense of excitement and anticipation in the air as hopefuls from all across the world converged on the convention centre. Due to the enormous turnout, each match was sudden death. You'd face your opponent and play one timed game. The loser was out. There were 3 starting days and matches were drawn by random. At the end of day 1, 90% of the remaining players were professionals. Several national champions and international masters got unlucky in their draws early on and went head to head. Bad for them, but exciting for the TV cameras. Amongst all the bustle of day 2, Andrei Lvovsky took his seat. Andrei Lvovsky was the reigning world champion and had a crushing and unparalleled unbeaten record. Early in the morning he destroyed 2 opponents and was eager for a third. He glanced at his opponent's name but he didn't recognise it. He sat down at his table and glanced at the empty chair opposite. As time drew closer, as is custom, he polished his queen with his shirt pocket. Just then a boy around 10 sat down opposite. The boy apparently had won some junior competition once, but otherwise was unknown. He smiled and shook the boy's hand. This is what the organisers had hoped for. A battle of a boy versus Goliath. A huge crowd circled as they did with all of Andrei's matches. The boy seemed a little uneasy at the attention, but Andrei, forever being the gentleman, leaned over and whispered, "Just play your best. You'll forget they're even standing there." The boy smiled back and the game began. The boy was good, very good in fact, and Andrei was impressed. Andrei pushed hard. His knights took control of the centre and bishops the diagonals. Andrei rapidly scanned the variations and combinations at stunning speed as he locked into a potential vicious and victorious endgame. Just because he was facing a boy didn't mean he could show any mercy. The boy countered in such a bizarre, suicidal way, Andrei dismissed it as beginner's weakness. As Andrei continued his push forward, the boy made another strange manoeuvre. Andrei leaned forward to move his piece when he suddenly froze. Dread and realisation surged through him. The boy watched unassumingly. Andrei had somehow overlooked and fallen for a brilliant, elaborate and masterful trap. A hush fell across nearby spectators. No one had seen this coming. It was there and then, at this moment, that Andrei and the entire chess world felt the coming of the greatest chess player of all time. Andrei was done. He knocked over his king and resigned. The boy extended his hand and they shook. Andrei, still in a state of utter shock, stepped away as journalists surged around the boy. He retreated into a back room to analyse the game. That night, Andrei's first thought that the boy had an earpiece and was getting outside help from either another master or some super-powered chess machine. But as he watched Grandmaster after Grandmaster fall to the boy, he knew that the boy could be the real deal. The boy went on to become the world chess champion in spectacular fashion. Andrei graciously handed over the title at the awards ceremony and he and the boy sat down to talk. The boy was 10 and being so young was chaperoned by his mum and dad. 2 twin sisters completed the entourage and the boy joked they were his bishops. Andrei and the boy talked game theory for hours. And by the end of it, Andre knew he was next to not only his equal, but someone who would surpass his own legendary status. Next year, the boy had to defend his championship against Andre. They had become friends, and Andre had tried to teach the boy everything he knew. There was a massive media circus again, as this was the McGregor-Mayweather of the chess world. Bookies were taking odds on the outcome, not only on who would win, but in how many moves and how long it would take. It was insane. The game of chess had become massive. Both the boy and Andre received an unprecedented payday. Now, with pressure mounting just a few weeks before the championships, the boy's parents made him stop communication with Andre. Andre respected their strategy and focused himself on his own preparation. Unlike his previous match with the boy, this time he wouldn't take anything for granted. The night before the match, Andre was in his hotel suite. His wife and newborn baby girl were in the adjoining room. While he wanted to win, the birth of his new baby girl opened up a whole new world to him. He relished every moment with her and never wanted to be away. But quiet was needed, so they left him alone. During a break, he approached the ice machine in the hallway. An elderly Asian woman stood there. As he bent down for the ice, she addressed him. "Hi there." He smiled back politely. "My family means everything to me," she whispered. "How about you?" Andre nodded again politely. "If anything ever happened to them, I'd never forgive myself." Having filled his icebox, he gave her one last smile, and as he turned, "If you don't lose tomorrow within the first 10 minutes, they'll meet my sons." Huh? He stopped, turned back to her, noticing 2 large men in suits further down the hallway outside of his hotel room. Doubtful they were really her sons. To intimidate, they pulled out guns, aimed them at the door. "You can call the FBI, the police, whoever. It won't matter. All that matters is that if you don't lose tomorrow within the first 10 minutes, they'll die. And you need to make it look real. If the result is invalidated for any reason, that's the same as not winning." Andre felt the woman pass something to his hand. He looked down to some Polaroid pictures. "Here are some people who haven't listened to me." He withdrew his eyes from the bloody photos. "You need to look. Notice my family doesn't discriminate as far as children are concerned." The photos were graphic and horrific. Instantly he took in how real this was. "Just so it's clear, I have a huge extended family. So if my sons don't do it, my cousins, uncles, grandparents or daughters will. No one will ever be able to protect your loved ones. Only you can be their guardian angel. You must play and must lose. You do that, you will never see or hear from us again. You don't, they'll die." She smiled warmly, as if she enjoyed her terror. "Good luck tomorrow. Just lose within the first 10 minutes." She nodded towards the men, who lowered their guns and left through a stairway exit. As Andre watched her walk to the elevator, his heart beat faster than ever before. He rushed back to his room and opened the adjoining suite door. His wife and baby girl slept peacefully. He took a sigh of relief. He closed the door and slid down the wall as paralysis gripped him. The next morning, Andre left earlier than planned, quietly kissing his sleeping wife and baby goodbye. Dazed, he walked in circles around the arena until it was time As reporters crowded him, he didn't hear their questions. He was still thinking about the events from last night. He made his way through the sea of onlookers towards the stage. He hadn't slept, running every scenario and outcome through his head. He had made a decision. Andre took his seat first, and then the boy came out and sat opposite. They shook hands for the cameras. The boy seemed nervous. This was a big moment. Andre glanced at the boy's equally nervous parents in the back and the boy's supportive twin sisters in the front row. It made him think of his own family back in the hotel room. If there was anything good to come of his upcoming loss, it would be that he would make the boy's family happy. The official brought out the clock. This was a timed 2-hour match. One game, winner takes all. Andre had formulated a plan to lose quickly. He needed to just make one bad move and resign. The official announced the start, and in front of a crowd of thousands in the arena and millions across the world, play commenced as the boy hit down on the clock and Andre moved. The boy moved, then Andre, then the boy. It escalated rapidly. He planned to move his queen in front of the boy's pawn and make a fumble, accidentally taking his finger off the piece. The boy, no doubt, would take his queen and the game would be over. The boy moved. As Andre was about to move his queen, he noticed the boy had made an incredulous and amateur mistake. The crowd of chess enthusiasts noticed too and whispered in amazement. For a split second, shocked mouths hung open. If Andre moved his queen 3 more spaces on the diagonal, Andre would be victorious in 2 moves. He hesitated, simply caught in the moment of the game. He had a pathway to victory. He was indeed the champion, but he wasn't about to sacrifice his family. So he made the move that would lose him the game. The crowd gasped at the mistake. The boy's eyes widened as he glanced to the board and then back to Andre. Some stood in anticipation as this was about to be over. The boy was going to slay the king for the second and definitive time. As Andre went to knock over his king in resignation, all of a sudden, the boy knocked over his own king first. The audience collectively rose to their feet in shock. Andre's eyes widened in sheer horror. "You had it won!" Instantly he knocked over his own king, but he knew it was too late. He pushed his way through the surging crowd of everyone trying to get close to the new champion, out of the arena, towards his hotel when there was a loud boom. The entire block rocked as an explosion demolished the hotel's 10th floor. Andre froze in sheer and utter horror. There and then his world grew dark. This was something he couldn't recover from. That year he no longer cared about chess. He withdrew from chess first, then from life itself. He was angry and depressed. Occasionally suicidal, his desire for revenge prevented him from ending it all. But the FBI turned up nothing. Andre knew it was probably a gambling ring and used all his money and influence to investigate. Meanwhile, his resentment for the boy grew. He watched on TV as the boy won the next world championship. The boy smiled upon winning. That smile was etched into Andre's mind. That smiling boy did this to me. That goddamn smile. What made the boy think he deserved to smile? That boy was a murderer, smiling murderer. 10 years went by and Andre seemed to disappear from the world. The boy, whose name was Franco, was now a man. He was still the undefeated world chess champion, and he still had that smile. But beyond his public exterior, Franco was genuinely a good person and taught at-risk kids how to play chess at an underprivileged school. Franco fell in love, got married, and had 2 babies, twins, which of course went down well with his own twin sisters. His reign as an unbeaten chess champion continued with several high-profile battles. Ultimately, his focus, ability and resolve was so strong he consistently emerged victorious. Franco was on a sponsored vacation with his entire extended family. His new mysterious corporate benefactor had sent his family on a stunning safari off the beaten track. But while they were out having fun, Franco waited alone in his hotel room for a pre-arranged press junket. A knock on the door. Franco opened it and his jaw dropped. Andre stood there. The years hadn't been kind and he looked drained and weathered.
Come in.
Andre hesitated, then suddenly lunged forward with a hypodermic needle, jamming it into Franco's neck. Franco awoke, chained to a wheelchair, a restraint fastened to his jaw, locking his ability to speak. From somewhere, Andre leaned in and whispered, "I've waited a long time for our rematch." He spun Franco's wheelchair around. Franco's eyes widened in horror as he faced a giant, life-sized chessboard. "The game we played was the worst in my life. This game will be yours." Each piece was a magnificently carved metal statue engineered to hold a chair. "I took the liberty of letting you play white." In all of the white pawn pieces sat a man or woman restrained and chained to a seat. "Just so you know who they are, they're the scum who killed my family." Franco scanned the pawns. There was the Asian lady and the two gunmen from the hotel. Their fingers had been cut off. They were black and blue from multiple beatings and torture. In the remaining pawns were other henchmen, presumably members of her family. "Let me give you the best view of the game." Andre pushed Franco towards the White King. As the wheelchair inserted into a slot, a small hoist lift platform raised the wheelchair to the top of the king, giving Franco a view of the entire board. Andre stood in the middle. "Here's how it works. I play as black. If I take one of your pieces..." He walked over to a white pawn. "Say, this one." As he touched the pawn, he clicked a remote. Huge flames shot up from below the man's chair. He screamed as his skin fried before Franco's eyes. "You get it?" Franco pleaded with pained eyes for Andre to ungag him. "I almost forgot to load your bishops." Andre disappeared into the back and moments later emerged pushing two wheelchairs. It was Franco's twin sisters. He wheeled them into their respective slots in the bishop pieces. With a smile and a merry spring in his step, Andre left the board. He returned pushing in Franco's parents. "I think these, sir, are your knights." He left and came back, and this time with Franco's gagged wife. "Your queen has arrived." And then he went back one last time. He came out with two strollers holding Franco's peacefully sleeping babies. He gently laid them on the top flat of the rooks. "This is one of my favourites," he said, referring to the death mechanism within the rooks. Andre motioned with his hands that a loss of a rook would rocket launch the babies high into the sky. Andre looked for a reaction from Franco. His eyes welled up with tears. "If you lose or refuse to play, then everyone dies." Andre climbed back upon his king. "In front of you is your own personal chess board, hooked up remotely to the life-size board. Your move here will be replicated by the one there. It's your move first, my dear friend. Franco struggled to speak, but the gag prevented it. I can only wait so long. Move a piece, or they all die. I'm waiting. Franco glanced down to his family. Move. Franco hesitated, but then lifted up a piece, then placed it back down, making the first move. Andre shrugged, confused. Pawn h4. Franco had moved his rook's pawn 2 spaces forward. What sort of move is that? You just want me to kill them all now? Of course, being muzzled, Franco couldn't respond. Andre made a standard opening move before Franco quickly advanced the same pawn forward. After Andre's play, Franco again moved the same pawn, putting it in danger. Grinning, Andre immediately took it. Instantaneously, a huge drill tore into the rider's legs. Blood showered upwards as below the seat saws spun through him. Your move. Franco now advanced another pawn 2 spaces. It had nothing protecting it, and it could be taken immediately by Andre's piece. You just want me to wipe all them out. It'll be my pleasure. He took the piece, killing the henchman attached to it. Franco continued this way, advancing his pawns into immediate danger. Andre's eyes widened in glee as the Asian lady advanced into his scope. I can't tell you how much satisfaction this will give me. He took her. The walls of the pawn folded in, crushing her slowly. She screamed, begging for mercy. He waved at her goodbye. Pathetic. Andre laughed. Next. Franco moved another pawn that contained one of the gunmen. Andre waited until Franco's pawn was all the way on his side and there for the taking. Swiftly he captured the piece. The walls of the pawn tightened until leak-proof, and then water rose upwards from below. The top of the pawn, transparent and resembling an upside-down fishbowl, quickly filled with water. Within, the gunman couldn't overcome his inability to breathe. Franco, his family and the remaining henchmen watched as the gunman drowned in front of them, loving it. Franco played another pawn forward. Now everyone was well aware of what was going to happen. One by one, Andre eliminated all of Franco's pawns, and one by one those inside suffered the most horrendous and torturous deaths. Andre took in the exposed white army in front of him. I'm waiting. He grew restless, waiting for Franco to move. He wanted so bad to taste more blood. Come on, Andre demanded, his scream jolting the babies awake. Franco remained motionless as crying filled the air. Andre waited. Franco simply stared at the board. Andre waited and waited. He waited hours. The screaming, hungry babies gnawed at him. Move. Franco wouldn't. Move. Move. Andre took his remote control and held it in the air. His blood boiled. Andre's finger itched over the trigger switch. Franco remained motionless. Frustrated, Andre threw down the remote and charged over to Franco. Why won't you move? He yanked off Franco's head restraint and leaned in close. Why won't you move? Franco responded calmly.
10 years ago, they came to me and my parents. They told me if I don't lose against you within the first 10 minutes of the game, they would kill my family. I'm sorry.
He glanced to the dead row of pawns.
The moves I made killed them. I can't tell you how happy that makes me feel. But now, I'm done. I can't make a move that'll kill my family.
Andre was taken back. He wasn't expecting this. He retreated back to his king. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat as he surveyed the pleading and helpless eyes of Franco's family. Franco had made the only play possible. His eyes glanced to the trigger switch, then back to Franco. Andre now knew that he couldn't take Franco's life, or that of his family, but he also knew there was no coming back from what he had done to them.
God, help me. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I resign.
A powerful electric surge rocked through Andre's throne. His body spasmed violently and his eyes bulged in excruciating pain.
No!
Franco screamed, but it was too late.
No!
As Andre's lifeless, smoking body slumped forward.
No. No.
He looked to his family, his babies, then whispered across to Andre's dead corpse.
Why did you let us out first?
Chess.com, that's where I play. Look up You Don't Turn Around if you ever feel like a game. Please subscribe at the end of this video and turn on the bell to get notifications. You won't want to miss what we have coming soon.